It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Thanks, my friend, for joining us on the Sam Lesante Show. Folks, please remember May 15th. You know how serious this election is going to be. We try to bring all the candidates on for you to really get a full understanding who they really are. And joining me today is Dan Meuser. No stranger at all to the Sam Lesante Show, no stranger to anyone in the state of Pennsylvania. The 9th Congressional District is where Dan will be running. And also, we have a lot of interesting things to discuss today before the primary. Dan, how are you?
Doing great. How are you, Sam?
You're a busy guy.
Absolutely.
You're all over the place.
Yeah, that's right.
Everywhere I go, Dan was here, Dan was here, Dan was here. So, well,
Covering the district. The district's almost 6,000 square miles, and we are in every county, every township as often as possible.
How's the campaign going? It's truthful. How's the campaign going?
Very strong. And I say that as a not an optimist, not a pessimist, but as a realist. Our ground game, I'm quite proud of, actually. Our team and our work has put together networks of support in every county, from Jim Thorpe to Danville, to the back mountain of Luzerne, to Pottsville, to Leesport, to the largest city in the district, Lebanon City. Sherry Capello gave us her endorsement. She's the mayor of Lebanon City, so we're very happy to receive that. As a matter of fact, in Lebanon County, we received every endorsement of every state and county elected official, and that's
That tells you something, doesn't it?
Well, you know what? Grass tops are important. It tells others that maybe I should take a look at this guy, but from there leads to the grassroots. But we actually, after that, we got a 90 out of 90 committee vote in Lebanon County. And that's just an example, and they're all now working for us as the endorsed candidate. But, endorsed candidate from a county level. I'm talking about the people, the township supervisors, the local people who are doing the work. And we've got the same sort of situations in Montour County, in Columbia County, in Carbon County. We have a great group. Schuylkill County, where I'm spending a large portion of my time, as well as Berks, which needs to be done, because when the district changed, when the courts, quite unconstitutionally, I might add, changed the districts, Schuylkill, Berks, we have about 3/4 of Berks, and Lebanon were new to the 11th, making up the new 9th. And so we had to spend a lot of time there. I put a headquarters right in Pottsville. And we will have, should we be successful, we will have an office based out of Pottsville, because in many ways it's the center, geographic center of the district. And as a person 25 years in business, you want your headquarters to be as close to your customers as possible. So that's the right spot to be. We're living up to our commitments. We're bringing in the sort of fundraising that's necessary. And listen, fundraising is just important to a campaign. You can't run a realistic, effective campaign without being able to raise money. You shouldn't, frankly, that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody if you plan on being successful. We plan on being successful here in the campaign with the support of the voters, as we plan on being successful should we get into office. Going into it with eyes wide open, going into it as a realist, making promises that we plan to keep, and being effective and delivering for the people that we're going to work for.
Staying on that, when there are people, when they're endorsing you that did not know you, okay, why do you think you've had all these great endorsements? What did you bring to them that say, I studied this person because they did not know you, other than, what the great job you did as a Secretary of Revenue. I mean, you did an outstanding job there. What were some of the key points that say why we want Dan Meuser to be our congressman?
I think there are three things that people look at in a campaign. One, who are you? What's been your record? What's your history? What have you done? Two, they look at what you're doing right now, what your campaign looks like. Are you living up to your commitments? And are you running a professional campaign? And third, I think what you're going to do when in office. Those three items points are, I think, resonating with people. They do know me from being revenue secretary. They know I was a person of my word. They know, and when I say they, I mean people like Senator Dave Argel, who's endorsed our policy initiatives. I mean people like Mike Fulmer, State Senator Mike Fulmer, who's endorsed our campaign. State Representative Frank Ryan over in Lebanon County, Russ Diamond, and I'm naming state representatives, but also Bob Phillips and Bill Ames, commissioners over in Lebanon County, and I'm definitely missing some. John Rafferty in Berks County. So they know I live up to my commitments. They know I'm a hard worker. And this goes for the party chairs as well, the county chairs throughout. They know that I do my homework. I know what I'm talking about. You become trustworthy by building trust, right? Or you build trust by being trustworthy. And that's something that I've had that gene, I think. If I make a commitment to something, I do it ever since I was young. 25 years in business makes you live up to your word. If you don't live up to your word, what do you got? Who are you? I mean, and you don't set goals that you don't expect to achieve in business, right? You set a goal, you're expected to achieve it. That's the results that are necessary. And if you can't, you better forewarn those you made that commitment to well in advance, or else you just failed or you overstated. In business, there are many rules of business. Under promise, over deliver, right? Problem solve, don't problem find. Don't confuse activity with accomplishment. Much of this is reversed in the legislature and in Congress, and I'm going to be someone that's different. That is focused on being honest and problem solving.
So when you're in the different areas, and you just said there's a lot of miles that you're covering in your district, okay? What are some of the key issues, okay, for your districts that you're in, okay, for the 9th Congressional District? Because Philadelphia has different ones, different states and counties have different issues. Right. For your constituents, what are some of the issues that are majorly concerning to the constituents, and why I'm telling these people they should vote May 15th?
Yeah. Well, first, President Trump has got momentum. And he's doing things that people appreciate and are making a difference. So they want someone who's truly going to be on the side of the president and the president's agenda, okay? And I mean from an economic standpoint, lower taxes, minimal regulations, repealing and replacing Obamacare. They want someone who's going to be very supportive of our military readiness, our veterans, which I'm extremely supportive of. Someone who understands the importance of border security and building the wall and defunding sanctuary cities. So these are important issues. The whole drain the swamp concept. Someone who is truly going to Washington to not be part of business as usual, right? I mean, to go there for a reason to be part of this new trend where we see many members dropping out. And I think they're dropping out because they're just not as excited about helping drain the swamp and implement the president's initiatives as I am.
Yeah.
And that means high levels of regulatory reform. It means term limits. I'm absolutely for term limits. I'd be for a constitutional amendment. And it means a balanced budget amendment. We've got to get a balanced budget amendment. I mean, there's nothing more I am excited about or looking forward to than spending the next several years of my life serving the people of the 9th Congressional, of the 8 counties that make up the 9th, doing the work here at home. That's something else that's very important. Bringing in better paying jobs, knowing how to do it, knowing how to work, all those contacts that I have within the state and the county governments, creating synergies with them, federal, state, local, to roll out the welcome mat, if you will, not using taxpayer dollars. There's far more smarter ways of raising capital investment through the private sector than using taxpayer dollars and putting the taxpayers at risk. Bringing in those jobs, right? Revitalizing some of our cities. And so that's some of the initiatives that I worked on as revenue secretary. And they want you to, again, be there for them in Washington, be their voice, be fighting for them. So in order, you've got being supportive of the president. People are very concerned about illegal immigration, as am I, and that needs to be corrected. End of story. We do need to repeal and replace Obamacare. People are very concerned about school property taxes. And I did put together an initiative related to school property taxes where the federal government can weigh in and state that the methodology for how school districts raise your taxes is unconstitutional. And it conflicts with the United States Constitution in many ways, uniformity, due process. It's against the supremacy clause of the Constitution. So on that note, I fully appreciate the 10th Amendment and the fact this is a state issue. The solution is a state issue. If asked, I have my ideas on how to do it, but that's not within the realm of federal authority. But I do think the methodology of just automatically raising school taxes at the whim of the school boards because they need more money and making taxpayers suffer and causing people to lose their homes is not in line with tax uniformity as defined by the United States Constitution. I think it's a huge problem. I do think we've got legislators such as Dave Argel and Mike Fulmer and John Rafferty and state representatives Frank Ryan and others working on this. But I want to weigh in on it as well as much as I possibly can to finally eliminate school property taxes.
Dan, it's always surprises me when you're talking about what Trump has done, okay, and other than the wacko liberal media that always, for whatever reason, people are taking home more money with their paychecks. Correct me if I'm wrong. Unemployment is down. More Hispanic Americans are working. More African Americans are working. People are enjoying their retirements. They're seeing increases in their retirements. They have a president here who has moral values, at least, based on his pro-life issue, and is one of the few presidents ever to speak at a pro-life. Okay, so and if it was reversed, I'd say the same thing. If he was a Democrat, okay, but we've had failures after failures in the years with the senators have been there, even Republican senators, okay, who've been there. So why? What you're saying is you want to continue on what's happening, especially with regulations. Okay. You would think that the Republicans like you would win in a landslide in the country, okay? Why do people look at politicians a little bit different than they look at investing their money or in going to a doctor and making sure that this particular doctor is the right person to get, okay? Why do they do that? You hear, the midterms, people are not interested. I think this is going to be a critical year for elections.
Well, a couple of reasons. One, the extreme left is supported by the national media, and so they put out misinformation on issues and conflate things about the president that should have been dismissed way back. Right, the Russian probe, Russian collusion, all this, it's nonsense. It's going on for over a year. And
they keep looking.
There's no there.
Yeah.
Their whole role is to disrupt the president and keep the president and those in Congress who are with him from doing good, from being successful, from moving things forward. And I'll also tell you this: there are members of the Republican Party that participate in this. All right, they have no courage to make the important decisions that are the adult decisions that are best for all Americans. And you got a lot of many career politicians, people that are in office that fall into this. I mean, there are those. I have one of my opponents that, frankly, is a tax and spender. I mean, his only answer, his only solution to fiscal problems is to increase taxes and increase spending. Okay, anybody can do that. There's nothing clever or creative or gifted about that. All right, it's the worst of the worst. And unfortunately, that's the largest majority of people that you tend to have in legislators, and in many cases, apparently, with some commissioners. That's not the answer. And then on top of that, to give himself a pay raise. I'm talking about the Schuylkill County Commissioner. I mean, that's adding insult to injury. right? Increasing your taxes every other year like clockwork, increasing spending by 70%, and oh, by the way, giving myself a pay raise, and using other expenses to pay for things that are normally private, like iPads and nonsense like that. This is exactly the frustration that people have in government. And it's not business as usual, all right? The days of people like Commissioner Halkovich are over, and I'm part of that trend.
When you're looking at other negative things that happen, okay, you don't mind a debate, a good debate to discuss. Like you're saying, businessmen have to look at the bottom line here. There's some other negative things that have come across. I don't think they're really major things with your other opponent. What were some of the other things that you have to address, which is, I think, nonsense?
Well, there's been a push by my other opponent out of Berks County on the idea that somehow I'm a closet liberal. Okay.
What does that mean?
Well, it means that I'm not really a conservative. Well, frankly, I've been a conservative since about 1976. And when Jimmy Carter became president and I saw all the things he was doing wrong, and then watched Ronald Reagan, and even that, my father was a New York City police officer. I grew up on Long Island. I lived in our area now for over 30 years, helped build a business and such. But my father was affiliated with the original Conservative Party back then. And it all made a lot of sense to me. So I've actually been a conservative that far back. But then Ronald Reagan's policies cemented that the fact is that conservatism works. So anyway, I have over the last 20 years, donated over 99% of my donations have been to Republicans. Okay, so 1% have gone outside of that to Republicans. And frankly, it wasn't because I supported the candidate in mind. I never supported a Democrat or a liberal. I don't want to get into Democrat, liberal, but liberals, or a Democrat for that matter, in my life. But I have, over the years, supported friends or customers in many cases that said, hey, I got so-and-so, I'm doing a fundraiser, can you send me something? So I'd send in a check because it was good business. That's it. Right. Yes. That's it. But the idea that there's one liberal bone in my body is absolute nonsense. And you know what the biggest shame of all this is that someone looking to be in Congress is providing 1% of the truth and not providing 99% of the truth. That's a misrepresentation of the facts. If someone wants to say, hey, Dan was responsible for voting for tax increases in his past, well, that's your record. There's nothing I could really say about that. That has some truth. That would be true or false, one or the other. Like my opponent, Commissioner Halkovich, has raised taxes. That's a reminder to people that that's how he thinks is the best way to manage government, to tax and spend. I couldn't disagree more. We need to make government far more efficient and smarter and serve the people better, not just keep taxing people for the same old government that they've gotten over the years. So I really am very concerned when I see any candidate, Republican or Democrat, deliberately misrepresent the facts for the purpose of their own gain, or better yet, what the liberal media and liberals are very good at, trying to fool the people.
Boy,
that's a concern.
Oh my God, it's big.
Right? And the other one is that they say I don't live in the district, which because of the redistricting,
sure.
Okay, my home was in the 11th. Redistricting put my house less than 2 miles outside the district. Okay, this district is almost 6,000 square miles. We've been working it, showing people that that's how we're going to serve in Congress. The mile and a half shouldn't make any difference when you have 6,000 square miles.
Yeah.
Now keep in mind this, where they misrepresent it, they put out ads and mainly internet and all and saying, oh, he doesn't live in the district, meaning you can't vote for him. 3 paragraphs down in the United States Constitution from We the People, it states clearly what the requirements are to run for Congress. Got to be 25 years of age. I passed that a long time ago. You need to be a citizen of the United States, born here, and you need to be a resident of the state you live in. It is my constitutional right to run being a mile and a half outside the district. Now, granted, if I was 60 miles outside the district or was from somewhere else and moved into the district, then there'd be a point. But it's my constitutional right to run. My son's school, for instance, right, his school district was cut in half by this redistricting.
Yeah.
Dallas School District, cut in half. Okay, so my friends, my community, my life is within the 9th district. And I'm not alone. There are 4 other members that are actually running for Congress right now.
Dan,
let me just finish with this. It's in the Constitution. That's the funny thing. If my opponents have a problem with this part of the Constitution, what other parts of the Constitution do they have a problem with?
but does it really make a difference?
Well,
To me, it's like I'm going to only, I go back to, I'm going to take a doctor who lives in my district. The doctor lives a mile down the street. He's not in my district, even though he's more qualified. Okay, see, I look at that a little bit differently. I look at it
because you're a thinker.
I look at a person who is going to be able to do the job for my family and the future of my grandchildren. Okay, folks, I'm talking to Dan Meuser. He's running for Congress and Republican ticket, 9th Congressional District. Check his website out. And folks, download our app, SSP TV. All the shows I've done with Dan are on this particular app, as well as subscribe to SSP TV on YouTube. Just hit YouTube, subscribe SSP TV, and all the shows are there. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Remember, please vote May 15th. Critical election. My guest today is Dan Meuser, who's running in the 9th Congressional District on the Republican ticket, and his website's MeuserForCongress.com. I want to go back in history a little bit, Dan. When the first time you came on the Sam Lesante Show, you were Secretary of Revenue, okay? Now, if anyone would just Google the Secretary of Revenue, when you were Secretary, the mess that you inherited and what you did in 4 years, okay? What did you inherit, what did you do?
Well, you know what, 25 years helping build a business, problem solving, growing it, treating customers like customers, as of course you have to in business. Was great training, gave me great experience to then go in and manage and run the operation for the Department of Revenue. So the first thing we did was laid out a 5-point plan on how to treat taxpayers like customers, to truly take it from a tax collection agency to a taxpayer advocacy organization, to work for the people, not against them, for people to gain faith in the government through our agency in particular, through being highly responsive and caring for them and looking after things. Anyway, it actually worked. Revenues went up because we were focused on collecting all the taxes due. Costs went down, quality improved, taxpayers were better served. For that, the Council on State Taxation named us the most improved Department of Revenue in the country, bringing our grade from a D+ to an A-. So, government can be corrected with the right leadership, but also with the right team and the right plan and executed well.
Okay, so now you win the congressional seat. You get the nod from the Republicans, okay, in the primary. Now you're going to be faced with the wacko liberals, okay, who brought this country in a mess the way it is. I mean, I hope people understand the country was in a mess because of these wacko liberals. Not only are you going to be fighting them, okay, we're going to tell you that you want to take Social Security away, you want to take Medicare away, and the Republican. Well, I'm just saying, this is what you're going to hear. Because that's why I think you need a strong candidate. The Republicans need a very strong candidate to be able to take on the liberals, because they're going to come out like you can't believe. Yeah. Okay, I guess you know that. What are you going to do?
There's a lot at stake. I mean, the liberals actually have a plan, and it's a real plan to impeach the president. Mm-hmm. So if we even put our 9th district here at risk, even though it's a Republican-leaning district, okay, the midterms are still midterms. We got to put our best foot forward. We need our best candidate, and we need all the resources in order to be successful. So we first and foremost have to lay out the agenda of what we're going to do, and I named the America First agenda that I'd be strongly behind, and draining the swamp and such. There's more, right? It's about being an advocate for pro-life. I'm strongly pro-life, to be an advocate for the sanctity of innocent human unborn life, okay? That is something people care a lot about. I care a lot about. All right, that enormously differentiates us with our liberal.
Big time.
Yeah, Constitution, Second Amendment, got to be strong advocates for it. Okay, the left laughs at that. They scoff at it. They think the Constitution is something that they can manipulate, and the Second Amendment is a bad thing. So these are things that we need to be ready to win this seat and represent this district and reflect this district with its values in Washington. And then there's more, right? I mean, here at home, as I began mentioning, we have an opioid crisis. Okay, we need a tough stance there. Okay, it's not just about adding more money, as many of the liberals want to do. Okay, it's an actual plan that deals with the demand, or excuse me, the supply coming in from distributors and opioid prescriptions. That's not right. It needs to be fixed. The level of enforcement, the level of treatment. Certainly, some funding needs to go in, but it needs to be well placed and well managed and accounted for. The liberal answer to everything is just throw more money at it. So that's something. The capital investment I'm talking about, that doesn't come from the taxpayers. Public-private partnerships, real financial understanding on how to create investment opportunities for tech companies, for higher paying wage job companies, job creators to come into our area. And it can be done. And truly being part of the revitalization efforts in Pottsville, in Girardville, in Tamaqua, in Leesport, throughout the district. There's nothing more I'd rather do with the next several years of my life than to be part of the team, the organization, the community, the political leaders and community leaders in helping achieve these things.
Well, the interesting thing, Dan, is that you've done them. You've done them with your business. You've done it already in the state of Pennsylvania. Everything that you say you are going to do, you've done and achieved those things, okay? So here again, it's based on qualifications, you know, and I think this year is going to be a serious, very serious year for the elections. We're looking at potential Supreme Court justice that, and for whatever reason they want to impeach Trump. With all the successes he's having, it's mind-boggling to me, Stan. It really, it's just, I can't understand it. You know,
they care about power, not the people.
Yeah, it's just sad. Dan Meuser, folks, running for Congress in the 9th Congressional District, a Republican ticket. MeuserForCongress.com. Okay, learn all you can about the candidates, all the candidates. Dan, as usual, I wish you the best. You've certainly been a good friend of mine for many, many years. You've always been honest and sincere. When you were Department of Revenue, Secretary of Revenue, you were always there, did your job, never lied, always concerned about the people. So I wish you and everyone the very best. And congratulations on deciding to run for office.
Thank you. And I hope everyone comes out and votes on May 15th, and I ask you for your vote.
Dan Meuser, folks, 9th Congressional District. Don't forget, please vote May 15th. We'll see you next time.